Welcome to Take Hold, everybody. It's so good to have you with us this evening. And I'm always reminded, and I was reminded during worship again, I want our hearts to be open to God's Word, and we come to hear God's Word, but also God can speak at any time during the service, and including the worship songs. And I thought the ladies that led us, or that are leading us tonight, led so well. And thank you for following the Spirit's leading and for directing us. And I was just, as we were singing Bless God, I just wondered, what is it in your life right now that you would say, I'm blessing God anyway? It's okay to have that moment. You know, we don't have to just kind of put a stroke or a broad stroke or whitewash things. And I think it's important to note that some of you are in the room going, bless God's a little bit hard right now. But the song is basically bless God anyway, because He's worthy and He's got you. And we may not know what He's going to do. We may not know how He's going to come through, but He's going to come through because He's a good God and He's up to good things. And we believe that. So tonight we did a series a few weeks ago now, before we went through the IMs leading up to Easter, called Raise the Bar. And it was the idea of raising the bar on relationships, and we talked a little bit about marriage and dating, a little bit about singleness. We'll get a little bit more to that next week. But as we came back to this, I thought there's just a couple of other things I'd really like for us to raise the bar on. And so tonight, it's an attribute of the Christian faith that I believe if you raise the bar on it intentionally in your life, that it can have a tremendous impact on all of your life. And in order for me to get to that, I've got to tell you a story. I want to start it this way, okay? Her name was Gigi, and she had a crush on me. Now, for my 13th birthday, Gigi made me a tray bake of Fruity Pebbles. I didn't know. Does everybody know Fruity Pebbles, by the way? I've seen them here in Scotland. I don't know why you guys are allowed to have Fruity Pebbles, but not Cocoa Pebbles. That's something I've been missing from the States from the last couple of years. You don't know what it is, don't worry about it. Just know it's chocolate cereal. But this is the fruity version. And so it's not like the Breakfast of Champions or anything like that. It's just sugar. Sugar on some type of flake that's probably made from corn, but nobody really knows because there's so much sugar on it, all right? And so she has taken those, and it's sort of like a Rice Krispie treat, but she's used the Fruity Pebbles, and she's just mixed up like enough marshmallow and butter to let it sit in the tray and just become sweet goodness. And I don't know if you have to bake this thing. I don't know how much work would it. I don't know if you just set it in the fridge and just let the magic happen. I don't really know. But she made it for me on my 13th birthday, as a surprise. Incredible. I thought this was awesome. I mean, we come to the cafeteria at the school, and, you know, I've got the usual place where we sit, and I'm sitting there, and Gigi shows up, and she shoved candles into this thing, and I've got friends, you know, singing for me on my birthday, and I thought, this is great. Until about 2 hours later, when I get word from another girl, because, you know, when you're 13, nothing comes directly, right? It all comes from somebody else. So on behalf of Gigi, I would like to share with you, she's crying. Like, why? We had Fruity Pebble tray bake. This was incredible. Why is she crying? She's crying because you didn't say thank you. I felt like I had an appropriate reaction. I was happy. I ate what was made. But she's crying. 2 hours later. 24 hours hasn't even gone by yet. Like, the due date on the thank you note has not happened yet. Like, just give me some time. I'll write a card. I'll say thank you. Gigi and I are not dating or anything, but I think she was hoping that Fruity Pebbles might lead to that. But it wasn't going there. There's layers of issues here. When you do something for somebody, because you want to be thanked or you've got something else in mind, there's an issue there. However, pausing for gratitude is such an important thing. In fact, pausing for gratitude is one of the single greatest triggers you can pull on your entire life. And I want you to hear this tonight as we go into this particular talk with a particular story from the life of Jesus. This is not a power of positive thinking talk, okay? This is an attribute that in the life of a follower of Jesus can be a complete game changer. It can change everything in your life because gratitude doesn't just mark a moment, gratitude creates a milestone. I want to say that again. Gratitude doesn't just mark a moment. Gratitude creates a milestone. Now, a milestone doesn't have to be extravagant or big. It doesn't have to be around an elaborate moment. It can be small, and it can mark something that might otherwise seem insignificant. And it happens in a significant moment in the life of Jesus and some of the people that he encounters. I want you to see that this is a substantial spiritual practice, and before we're done, I want to give you some specific ways to make it happen in your life. So a first century doctor named Luke, who investigated the life and the stories of Jesus and ended up writing a couple books that are included in the Bible, talks about an encounter that Jesus has in the Gospel of Luke with 10 lepers. 9 of them illustrate a problem, and 1 of them acts as a model and sets an example. The story happens in Luke chapter 17, verse 11, and it says this: On the way to Jerusalem, he, being Jesus, was passing along between Samaria and Galilee. And as he entered a village, he was met by 10 lepers, who stood at a distance and lifted up their voices, saying, Jesus, Master, have mercy on us. Now, I don't know how familiar you are with leprosy, but in the first century, leprosy wasn't just a skin disease, which is what it is. It's a skin disease where skin can actually rot, and you can have all kinds of terrible things that happen as a result. It's a slow, isolating condition. It affects your body, it affects your relationships, it affects your place in society. It can cause numbness, it can cause sores, disfigurement, but honestly, worse than the physical pain is the social ostracism that comes with it. You're not just sick with a terrible disease. You're actually thought of, and especially in first century Jewish culture, you're unclean. To the point of whenever you're walking through town, if you're ever walking through town, which you weren't supposed to do, you have to announce yourself not by saying your name, but by saying the word unclean. Here I come, unclean, unclean, unworthy, not supposed to be here, not supposed to be interacting in this space. You're supposed to live on the outskirts of all the villages, and you're not allowed into temple worship, which was a huge thing in these days. Just not even being allowed into access where not only the worship of God happened, but so much of the daily commerce and community happens. They're not allowed really to talk to anyone, but especially a rabbi, and especially with one with the growing reputation that Jesus has at this time. Whenever you see, if you're ever reading the New Testament and you read about lepers, actual people, literal disease, but it's so much more than that. It symbolizes so much more, I think, in the New Testament and throughout the scriptures. It symbolizes people that are on the outsides and who don't believe that they can approach. They've been told they cannot approach. How many people, I hope nobody in this room, but how many people would say being like a leper is your lot in life? I wonder how many people walk around city streets like in Edinburgh and feel like they are lepers when it comes to church, lepers when it comes to approaching Jesus and the things of God. They're not allowed to. They're unclean in the eyes of the church, so they're unworthy. They're outside of what is permissible. And when lepers are not welcomed into the community, what do? Who do they find? They just find other lepers. But I want to say what Jesus makes plain throughout the scriptures is that Jesus' people and a church should be a place where someone who thinks of themselves as a leper can find mercy. A place where anyone can walk in. And even though they feel like they are unworthy, they can walk in feeling unworthy and walk out being made worthy by Jesus. That is what they want. More than just healing, they want community. They want restoration. They want wholeness. They want to be brought in. And that's where these 10 lepers find themselves as they shout out to Jesus, "Master, have mercy on us." And Jesus responds, Luke 17:14. When he saw them, he said to them, "Go and show yourself to the priest." Go show yourselves to the priest. And as they went, they were cleansed. Now, Jesus always responds when an outsider, when a leper calls on him, the people on the outside. So Jesus' people should always respond to those who feel like they're on the outside. But not just with kindness, not just with welcome, not just with validation, but also with a way to be made clean, a way to move forward with their lives. And so Jesus responds with a way for them to move forward, but he does it by giving them kind of a test. He says, "Go show yourselves to the priest." Now, this is in keeping with Levitical law. The priests are the only ones who can declare a person who is unclean, who can declare them clean. So they have to show themselves to the priest. Jesus is keeping with the laws of the day. But what's the issue when he says, "Go show yourselves to the priest," who would be at the temple, likely in the middle of town? They're not allowed to go through town. Because when he says this, they're not clean yet. They're not healed yet. Go show yourselves to the priest. What could happen as we walk through this village? People could lash out at us. They could actually stone us in this moment. But faith combined with nothing to lose is a powerful combination. And so they went. And as they went, the scriptures tell us they're healed. They're cleansed. There's another way to say what's written here, which for me makes it more memorable and easier to apply. 3 words. In the going. In their going, they are healed. I wonder how it happened. How far did they get from the time when Jesus said, "Go show yourself to the priest," until it happened? How far do you think they had to go? How far into town do you think they had to go? How many people saw them? We have no idea. Were they all healed at the same time in the same way? What do you think? I don't have any idea. When did they start noticing? I mean, lepers are required to be dressed in a certain way. They're required to be dressed as if they're in mourning. Their clothes are supposed to be tattered. Their hair is supposed to be unkempt. Just some other ways for everyone to know these people are outsiders. They don't belong here. The lower portion of their face would be covered with a scarf that they would use like we would have used mask during COVID or something like that. So they're pretty much covered from head to toe. Who noticed it first? When did they first start to realize we're being healed in the going? As we're walking, did one of them begin to rub their arm, or did they see something, was a finger healed? Did they see something get cleansed on their hands or on their wrist? Or did one of their friends look at them and say, "Bro, you've had this thing over your eye for years and it's gone"? And then suddenly they're looking at each other. Who was the first one to take down the mask and go, "How am I doing? How are we doing in this moment?" Who was the first one to take off that outer tattered robe? How did they respond as they went forward through the town in the going? How did they respond? Did they start laughing? Were there tears of joy? Are people staring at them going, what is happening in this moment? We have no idea what it looked like, how long it took as they're walking, and the going along the way. What we do know is that they were healed. And it was not in an instant, but they were healed. Friends, most people find their healing, most people find their prayers to be answered in the going. Listen, I would love it if we could just pray and have stories of things being answered and people being healed, just like a light switch being turned on. And those things do happen from time to time. God can. I've seen it happen. But they're more rare moments, and so that's why we know about them. That's why we talk about moments like that. When we hear those incredible stories, we hear far less about what happens in the going. And that's where most things in life are healed. Going in obedience in the direction that Jesus set. And that's the important note. That's where the growth happens. That's where healing happens. Going in the direction and the obedience that Jesus sent them in. They didn't ignore him. They went in faith in the direction he told them to go. What a moment. 10 healed lepers. All have got to be like dancing around and throwing their arms in the air and just going crazy beside themselves in the town. And then suddenly one of them turns around. Verse 15 tells us this. Then one of them, when he saw that he was healed, turned back, praising God with a loud voice. 10 were healed. One came back. One came back to Jesus. What brought him back? He saw that he was healed, and he realized what Jesus had done for him, and he must have recognized he didn't do it. So he takes his attention off himself and turns it back to Jesus. The scriptures say he is praising Jesus with a loud voice. The Greek words that are used here for a loud voice are where we get the term megaphone. In other words, he is shouting with everything he has got, letting everyone know he has received healing and mercy. I'm sure every praise song and psalm that this guy has ever heard is all coming out of him. And the moment when he realizes what Jesus has done for him as he went on his way. Friends, I want to be like the one who came back. I want to be the one who came back. And when he comes back, what does he do? Verse 16 says this. And he fell on his face at Jesus' feet, giving him thanks. Now he was a Samaritan. Just a little add there at the end for those of you that know a little something about the Gospels in the New Testament. Just a little detail, a little something extra. This isn't a parable. This happened, okay? The one who comes back is a Samaritan. Say, what's the big deal? Just know Jews despised Samaritans. Think of it as a bitter racism. And here is the one who comes back, and he falls on Jesus' feet, giving him thanks. He falls at his feet with gratitude. On his face, giving thanks. Friends, this is the posture of the healed and the whole. Has there ever been a time in your life where you have literally or figuratively fell on your face in gratitude? I got to be honest, most of the time, if I'm praying and I end up on my face, it's desperation. It's because I need God to answer prayer. I need him to come through. I need him to do something that is way out of my hands. There's nothing that I can do. And the appropriate posture of gratitude is very similar, because what it recognizes is that, God, you have done something that I couldn't do. I didn't do it. You did it. I take no glory. I give you all the glory. All the praise and gratitude goes to you. And it puts you on your face for what God has done for you. That's the posture that he wants from us. Friends, gratitude doesn't just mark a moment, it creates a milestone. Gratitude helps you recognize how far God has brought you, and recognizing it helps you go further. When you follow Jesus, when you go in his direction, you will become less negative, less cynical, more generous, less prone to the same sins, more accepting of others. You'll grow in the fruits of the Spirit, gentleness, meekness, self-control, and others. Turning around to thank God for the work that he has done in your life in the going gives you motivation to go further. Gratitude does some other things. It's worth talking about. A friend of mine who pastors in New York, Pastor John Tyson, points to some research that tells us gratitude reduces some other toxic emotions. These are not church statistics. This actually comes from science, okay? A scientific journal says that gratitude reduces toxic emotions like envy, resentment, frustration, and regret. Gratitude reduces social comparisons and increases resilience. Can you believe this? Increases resilience. It increases happiness and reduces depression. Gratitude is a powerful thing. Let me give you a couple others. It lowers blood pressure. It actually lowers blood pressure. It helps you sleep. Magnesium and gratitude, and you will get through the night. It boosts your immune system. Vitamin C, vitamin D, and gratitude. Scientists also say this: gratitude can help reduce, this is huge, it can help reduce PTSD symptoms. That terrible tragedy that you went through, that grief, that abusive relationship, that awful circumstance. Do you want to put some further safe and healed distance between you and that moment? Then thank God. Get on your face and thank God for getting you through it or out of it, whatever it is that he did. Create the milestone. Create the moment. We hesitate sometimes because we don't want to be like performing or come across as pompous before God or others, but it's important to create the milestone. He wants us to create the milestone of worship and thanksgiving, the moment of turning to God and realizing what he has been doing for you all along as you have been following him in obedience in the going. Is it any wonder that the Apostle Paul says in 1 Thessalonians 5:18, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. If you walk into our flat, and some of you have for Welcome to Church and other things that we've done there, you'll find collections of little things that if you didn't know us or didn't hear the stories, they would look just completely meaningless. Like to other people, they mean nothing. Let me tell you what we collect around our house, all right? If we go to a beach somewhere, we will purposely bring back shells to remember the trip that we were on. Often Angela will take at least one of them and she'll write on it where it came from and the month and year when we were there. If she can't find a pretty shell in her objective mind, she'll find a rock. I love being married to a woman who finds beauty in rocks, and she really does. We were on a hike this week, and she found one that had a little stripe in it. I mean, just a black rock with like a gray stripe, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. It stuck out to her. We were on a beach called Pebble Beach. There were millions of rocks, and she finds one. She's like, this one's good. Awesome. We've got a rock to mark the moment. This week, we had a few days off, and we took a trip, Angela and I, and we went to the Isle of Skye, where we went and we found Spar Cave. That's a good day to find a cave. The weather in Edinburgh, it's for those of you that aren't from here, it's always like this. It was 20 this week. It was sunny. it's always like this. We found a cave that is, it's a known place. It's actually, there has some history there with Sir Walter Scott and others, but it's not on a marked path. We didn't have headlamps, and so we couldn't go far into the cave. We just used our iPhones for torches. We were climbing on ledges over the sea. We shimmied down a little gully. We were hiking an unmarked path to a beautiful spot, and I wanted to have a memory of the day. And so I picked up just a gray rock. That's all it is. It's a simple gray rock for her to be able to write on, because her handwriting's way better than mine, to remember the moment where we went hiking and found a cave where I went too far into the cave and she got worried about me for about 5 minutes, but we made it out alive and everything was fine. But milestones remind us where we've been, and they help us know that when we face this circumstance again, we can make it and we can keep going. Not showing gratitude is a problem. And I think it's important to note, because sometimes the motivation for things isn't just all the great things that it can do for you, but you can also be motivated by all the things that can happen to you if you don't practice a certain thing, like gratitude. The Apostle Paul identifies the lack of gratitude as a problem. Romans chapter 1, verse 21, he says this: "For although they knew God, they did not honor him as God or give thanks to him." They didn't have gratitude. What happens to these people? "They become futile in their thinking, and their foolish hearts were darkened." What does the Apostle Paul tell us in Romans? He says a lack of gratitude produces futile thinking, which just means empty or vain thinking. Thoughts that wander and are not productive and don't make sense. Gratitude can bring you back to center from those things. He says a lack of gratitude produces a foolish heart. What's a foolish heart mean? Just unwise, unable to make good decisions. He says a lack of gratitude can darken your mind or heart. And the language that he's using is as if something has been pushed over the sun and brought great darkness onto your life. A lack of gratitude obscures the work of God to the point that you don't recognize him, and you are unrecognizable yourself from what you were created to be. Gratitude can have a huge impact on your life. It can pull you back to center. Psalm 14 tells us that it's the fool who says in his heart, "There is no God." In other words, they look around, they look at their world, and they give God no credit. They think, "I accomplished this, I did this, thank you very much, and I deserve more." Contrary to that, gratitude, I got some more science for you. Gratitude is a proven antidote to memory loss. That's real. I can give you the footnote for the journal if you want. How many of you can remember what you had for breakfast yesterday? Not a single hand is up. So I think we need some gratitude. Gratitude helps with memory retention. You guys weren't ready for the back and forth. I'll give you a heads up next time. Gratitude helps with memory retention. It's a reminder. That's what always happens when you create the milestone. It's not just happy, thankful thoughts. It's intentional, soul-filled gratitude. And when it's intentional, soul-filled before God, it's a weapon. It's a weapon against entitlement. Psychology today defines entitlement as an enduring personality trait characterized by the belief that one deserves preferences and all the resources that others do not. Research confirms that entitled employees have unjustified positive opinions about their talents and contributions, and even see their supervisors as abusive. Gratitude can change who you are in the workplace. It can set you apart. Gratitude works against self-indulgence and puts you in the posture of a grateful servant. Colossians chapter 3, verse 17 says this: whatever you do, in word or deed, do everything in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. How? Giving thanks to God the Father through him. Everything that you have the opportunity to put your hands to. the vision that you have for your life, the things that you want to accomplish. Yes, do all of those things, thanking God for giving you the opportunity and the resources in the first place. It's for Him. It's in His name. Gratitude produces a type of yieldedness and surrender. It reminds you of His sovereignty. And that can apply to your everyday actions and everyday conversations. Jesus looks at this one who comes back and He just says, while the guy's face down at His feet, He says, "We're not 10 cleansed? Where are the 9? Was no one found to return and give praise to God except the outsider, the foreigner, the Samaritan?" And He says to him, "Rise, go your way. Your faith has made you well." 9 lepers went along their way healed, but forgot who did the healing. And I love the imagery so much of the verse we just read. I want to give it to you. When Jesus says to this one who came back, "Rise, your faith has made you well," it could literally be translated this way. As he's on his face at Jesus' feet, it's as if Jesus said to him, "Resurrect, your faith has saved you." This one found so much more than physical healing. He came back to Jesus and found faith and salvation and wholeness. We had the opportunity to slow down for just a few days this week. And for me, I can't say it's always been like this, but at this point in my Christian walk, when I get completely still, that's miracle number 1, just so you know. When I get completely still and turn everything off, and it's just me and God, the dominant emotion I feel is gratitude. And with it comes a contentment and a joy and a peace. A peace that rules in my heart. As Colossians 3:15 describes it, the peace of Christ. Let the peace of Christ rule in your heart, to which indeed you were called in one body, and there's those 3 words, and be thankful. Peace reigns. Faith reigns. Because when you look back on what He's done, you find greater confidence that He will do it again, and you can keep going farther. Friends, gratitude raises the bar on your life. It trickles down and impacts everything. So how about you? Is this an area you need to raise the bar on? Do you need to raise the bar on gratitude? I mean, I look out there and I see different things that people do. These are all helpful. Maybe you do this. I've encouraged a couple of these things in the past. Does anybody keep a gratitude journal? Or maybe you have a spot in a journal that you keep where just you write down things you're thankful for. I think that's awesome, to write down what you're grateful for at the top of the page. I've seen writers and bloggers, influencers say, write down 3 things every day and do that for a period of time, and begins to stack up in your life. I think those are great suggestions. And if you're not doing those things, I would encourage you to do that. Write down 1 thing every single day, preferably in the morning. Be intentional with gratitude as you pray to God in the morning. But can we raise the bar a bit further? I think there's something else that we can do, especially for those of you that may be not liking this entire talk because you're thinking to yourself, I don't have anything to be grateful for right now. I know what it's like to feel like that in a moment, to have a season of stress like that. But I want to give you a practice that can change that mindset for not just for you, but for everyone in the room. It's not fake. It's not performative, it's transformative. This is a deeply authentic practice. I want to invite us all as a church to do this for the entire month of May. And maybe we'll come up with a way for you to share them. I'd love to see them. I want you to write down a daily gratitude milestone. Starting today on Star Wars Day. I couldn't get through the whole service without acknowledging. Before I bless you with our benediction at the end of the service, friends, I'll just say it right now so I don't forget. May the 4th be with you. Angela's not going to let me in the house tonight, just so you know. I want you to write down a daily gratitude milestone. This is not just a list of thankful, happy thoughts. Let me tell you how I want you to create a daily gratitude milestone. I want you to wake up with maybe one that you write down, but then I want you to look for something all day long. Look for something new all day long. Let gratitude be created and developed from something you experience every single day. Some days are going to be harder than others to come up with something. Write it down quick when you see it, or put it in a note in your phone so that you don't forget. Maybe you end the day this way. Something that Angela started months ago for us, just at the end of the day, before the lights are turned out, or maybe just right after they're turned out. It's that moment. What was the best part? What is there to be thankful for today? You want to take it to yet another level, so you've got your daily gratitude milestone. Come on, friends, I hope you're with me in this. All right? Every single day, because of the impact it's going to have on the rest of your Christian walk and the rest of your life and relationships. Take it up to another level. Share it with somebody. If you're married, share it with your spouse. If you got a roommate, share it with your roommate. Share with a colleague at work. If you're in a small groups, get into this together. Text them to each other. Let everyone know what's going on. But let daily milestones of gratitude transform your spiritual walk and transform your relationships and your life. And friends, more than anything else, let them cause you to be put on your face and worship for what he's done. On your face, not out of desperation, but out of gratitude. Oh, it's so important to share them. When we shimmied down the little gully to Spar Cave on the Isle of Skye, not really confident that we were in the right place. We are bouldering with the sea. I mean, we're crawling on ledges with the sea underneath us. And there's these moments. It's like, are we in the right place? And as the guy leading her to this place that I told her would be cool, I'm really hoping that we're in the right place. Because the tide's coming in, and you're supposed to find this place while the tide is out, by the way. But as we were going and bouldering, on one of the flat boulders, someone had created a little cairn, a little pile of rocks. And when we saw that little pile of rocks, do you know why people do this? Have you ever been hiking along a path and you see these? You think, is this just a cool thing? Is this like a viral or an Instagram or TikTok thing? Like, why is it that people do this? You know that the reason why those rocks are there is because they're intended to let you know somebody else has come this way, you're on the right path, you're going to be okay. Imagine if your gratitude milestones would not just remind you that you're going to be okay, but if they could remind your family, your friends, your loved ones, your colleagues who don't yet know Jesus, what if your gratitude milestones could lay the path for them to find their way to Him? Oh, that we would be like the one who came back. the one who came back and fell on his face to the one who brought about his healing and answered his prayers. Would you bow your heads with me?